Okay, welcome to this new episode of AI's Hit. Like every week, I will be looking at a photographer known from the past or the present that will serve as a pretext to analyze as a relationship between AI and photographic style. So, again, this week we'll be looking at a photographer. It's going to be Dall-E as usual, but I might have some other AIs coming in soon, but here it's going to still be Dall-E that gives us the information, and then we'll have illustrations by, Dall-E, ChatGPT, and then we'll have illustrations by Dall-E and Midjourney. Midjourney will be on the right and Dall-E on the left on each slide. Let's ask AI if you can tell us a little bit more about the bio of the photographer.
Shomei Tomatsu, 1930-2012, was a Japanese photographer known for his work that explored the cultural identity and social changes of post-World War II Japan.
So, yeah, the first two pictures, these are pictures every week for those who've been following the series for some time now. I ask AI to make a photo of someone that looks like the photographer behind his camera taking a picture, but still pausing. This time Dall-E, what I got on the left or on the right, actually, I've seen a few pictures of the photographer. It could be lookalikes, but what I like most is the kind of ambiance and the style. I think Dall-E hits it pretty well on the left with something quite dramatic. Midjourney is more Midjourney-like, very photogenic photo, very hyper-realistic. But yeah, the tools are progressing, in my opinion.
He began his career as a photojournalist in the 1950s, but later turned to more personal, artistic projects.
Here, for this first part, which is the bio, there's a historical perspective. Of course, it's taken with when the tools are illustrating. So I feel Dall-E is pretty good at giving really a sense of the post-war era. Japan works pretty well, in my opinion. I'm not sure about the texts because I obviously don't read Japanese or Asian calligraphy. But Midjourney, I think it's more, it could work too, but it's not as strong in terms of composition.
He is considered one of the most important photographers of his generation in Japan.
Here again, we're not going to go into the style of the photographer, if it works or not. That's once we'll be talking about the second part was the style. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But I still think it's kind of working in some ways. Dall-E always has this way of showing things almost more like a drawing or a collage, but there's a photographic feel to it in any case. It works pretty well. Midjourney, here it's more illustrative. I'm not sure about the place where that could be, but definitely could work out.
Tomatsu's work has been featured in numerous solo and group exhibitions, and his photographs are held in the collections of major museums around the world.
Here, an interesting shot, I believe it's when you have exhibitions in the description, because of course I use the text that Dall-E gives, that the ChatGPT gives us, and then I ask for an illustration. But when there's an exhibition or there's some publications, it's always interesting to see how the artificial intelligence tool are going to be able to use, if there's more than one photo of the photographers that has to be illustrated, if it's going to still keep track of the style and still try to do something right, or if it's just going to show things more simplistic. And I think here the feel of the photographer gets out better on the Dall-E version, and Midjourney could work, but it's less. I'm not sure if it works out. Let's ask AI if you could give us a little bit more information about what differentiates the style of that photographer.
Shomei Tomatsu's style is characterized by a deep engagement with the complexities of post-World War II Japanese society.
Okay, here images on the left from Dall-E, still and always, till the end where we have the custom work. I think Dall-E has, again, is trying more to get into the more refined details of the ambiance of the composition. Not sure if it looks like Tomatsu's work. Don't hesitate to post comments and engage dialogue about that below. I think Midjourney is doing some Midjourney with something very clean, but that could work. But again, it's more Midjourney-ish than Tomatsu-ish in my opinion.
He explored themes such as the impact of American culture on Japan, the effects of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the changes in Japanese culture and identity following the war.
Here, Dall-E is doing its usual Dall-E 2, kind of interesting composition that could work into Tomatsu's work, in my opinion. I'm not sure the square format would work, but here, actually, on the Midjourney side, I think there's something deeper. This sort of depth works pretty well. It's starting to work pretty well, in my opinion.
He often photographed the urban landscape and the people who inhabited it, capturing the everyday lives of Japanese citizens. One of the things that sets Tomatsu's work apart from that of other photographers is his use of a wide range of photographic techniques.
Here, interestingly enough, Dall-E does something more abstract. Tomatsu was doing more, using different techniques and working with the medium, and I think that could come into Tomatsu's work on the left. But Dall-E's trying, maybe not the framing and the very strict composition. Not sure, it's this very geometric thing, but yeah, it could work out. Find it interesting in any case. On the right, I think that's more Midjourney-ish than anything else. There's definitely some Asian vibes to that photo. But again, those pauses, the subjects in Midjourney, even though it's really hyper-realistic, they always look kind of weird, either directly to the camera or in some weird ways.
He experimented with different film stocks, lighting conditions, and printing methods to create unique and powerful images. He also used a variety of camera formats, including large format cameras and 35mm rangefinders.
Here, very interesting picture, in my opinion. I think Dall-E does a great job of bringing something a little bit different, more stylized. If it wasn't AI, I would say the person who's doing the picture is taking some risks, trying to convey more of a feel. I always think Dall-E, in most of the cases, in most of the previous weeks, it's trying kind of harder to convey some emotion. On the right, however, Midjourney is trying to create some kind of double exposure, some sort of weird composition, as we could maybe find in Tomatsu's work. I'm not sure Tomatsu would have added those kind of drawing-like clouds over the subject, but we definitely find those cloudy images, foggy images in Tomatsu's work.
Another aspect of Tomatsu's work that sets it apart is his use of symbolism and metaphor. His photographs often contain layers of meaning, and they can be read on multiple levels. He also often used a subjective point of view, which gave his photographs a personal and emotional quality.
Here again, I think both AIs are doing an interesting work. Dall-E again has, in my opinion, even though the photo is not that hyper-realistic, has a better approach to conveying emotions. The subject's positions are more evocative, I believe. They're not that classical. It really kind of changes. You really feel there's an interaction between subjects, which you usually don't find in Midjourney, or in a very simplistic way. And in Midjourney here, it's quite straightly composed and framed, but I think the textures, the way the picture is built, could work into Tomatsu's work.
In addition, Tomatsu was part of the Provoke movement, and this movement was characterized by their use of unconventional techniques and avant-garde aesthetics, which also contributed to the distinctiveness of his style.
Here, two super interesting results. I think Dall-E is really going, again, what I called being more risk taker than usual. It's really trying to do some experiments with the medium. I find that super interesting. I could see where the black box of AI is inspiring itself for an imitation of the style of Tomatsu. But yeah, really interesting. While Midjourney is trying something too more experimental here, I'm not sure it looks like some of Tomatsu's work, but there's something more dramatic. And again, those objects that float around, I'm not sure what they mean. I'm not sure it goes into as a piece of work from Tomatsu, but really interesting results this week. Okay, and as we have a virtual Shomei Tomatsu at our disposal, maybe we could ask for the custom work, which would be two teenagers standing in front of a cinema in 1960 Tokyo, wondering about their identity, a photograph in the style of photographer Shomei Tomatsu. Okay, so here, as usual, for those who've been following the series, I will regroup Dall-E first for images and then Midjourney. So let's start with the pictures from Dall-E. I think it's an interesting result. I'm not sure it's that Tomatsu-like, but we do see teenagers on front of something that actually wouldn't look so much as a cinema, but maybe, I'm not sure. Maybe on the right, even so, we don't see what's written on the big panel behind them, but yeah, it kind of works. Interesting nonetheless. The two next pictures I find really more interesting. The one on the left, here's those two really young teenagers, older child. What I like here is we have two other subjects that are kind of faded away. One because it's moving, there's the feel of cinetic blur. And one that's behind the car, it seems. I'm not sure if that's one, but and again, it's always weird to talk about this like with AI because probably that's not how it thinks. But the result is here. I kind of find it interesting how it's sort of composed the image on the left. Maybe a little bit Tomatsu-like. Yeah, I would find something here. And on the right, I definitely see those two teenagers. Kind of hard to know what their identity is. I think it kind of works for all the images from Dall-E. Not sure really about the stylistic aspect, but also something to remind us even so there's some tonality to the picture on the left, it really stuck to the black and white style of Tomatsu all along without me asking for anything. And now let's go to Midjourney. Quite interesting. So we definitely have the Midjourney style coming out more than Tomatsu, in my opinion. But on the left, I find it interesting with those two teenager women standing in front of maybe a poster from a movie. And I feel that the poster is more Occidental in its looks than the two teenagers. So is it putting some cultural identity questioning in this picture? Find that interesting. I wonder where it comes from. I would love to know a little bit more about the black boxes behind. On the right, I'm not sure about the idea of identity. Not even sure it looks like a cinema. So I'm not sure it works. Really too straight, in my opinion, to be Tomatsu's work. It's really more Midjourney-like than anything else. But I think it's a good reflection of what the tool does usually. Here again, I think it's interesting, the picture on the right, using a third picture on this probable cinema, and those two elder teenagers, young adults. Definitely something about identity and identity questioning between what's going on this poster or printed picture on small panels and the two individuals on front. And on the left, I don't know, maybe there's the way the interaction, but that's a little bit Midjourney-ish. But the interaction between the two subjects might bring about the idea of the questioning of identity. I'm not sure, but anyways, I think it kind of could look like some of Tomatsu's work. But again, I think if you have questions or if you have comments, if your knowledge of the photographer is better, please share. And yeah, hopefully that was enjoyable, and catch you next week.